Back on the Boulevard, Sunday, April 27th. As always, here to prove to you there is no such thing as football season. We're presented by the Believe Network tonight. Victory Sunday. A toast to that, TPG. Defenders move to 4-1. The Battlehawks bounce back in front of a rowdy, riled up crowd, which we promise we're going to get to this fiasco that went down in the Battle Dome in just a minute. But there was a lot of other action to recap. And of course, we're back with the fastest 3 minutes in the UFL. New captain for the Showboats, Dresser win at all costs. Second drive of the game, Memphis looking for a big play, letting it fly for D. Anderson. And Birmingham gets a taste of D's nuts. All aboard, touchdown, Boats up 6-0 early. It's a 63-yard try for the Stallions at the end of the half. It's short, and they're gonna bring it out. Isaiah, blame it on the vodka, blame it on the Henny. Crimson Tide fans, cover your eyes and pray. He could go all the way. 108 yards, kick six, the sequel in the state of Alabama. Memphis up 2012, final minute. Open the case, Cookus says no deal. We're not going home yet, it's overtime. And Dresser, all I do is win to Anderson. Gonna be a lot of lingerie on that Dresser tonight. Showboats winless no more. Michigan's Mike Nolan wants to play two quarterbacks. St. Louis says, be my guest. Bryce Perkins can only watch as Danny Tanner Etling gets picked in front of a full house. So they go back to Perkins. Down 2 scores late third. Bryce with time to throw. Touchdown to Malik Timmy Turner from the Dimsdale Dimmadome to the Battle Dome. Panthers back in front in the fourth until Blake Allen Jackson says, throw to someone tall and strong. It's number 88 to win the football game. Hakeem the Dream Butler electrifies St. Louis. Battlehawks bounce back at home. Jordan Tamu with his sights set on Luis Perez's Renegades, but it was the Spring King who would strike first. Finding Deontay, nothing but Burnett. Palms it out of the sky and goes 63 yards on their first play from scrimmage. And the Bandits are up 6-0 early. Second quarter now. Tamu gonna go deep for Cornell. Big Red Powell. The answer pulls DC within 5 into the fourth, now down 11. Dion Bo Jackson. Whoop! Keeps the drive alive. Now onto the goal line. Jordan Tamu, bitch. Get out the way. We got a ball game in Dallas. Defenders get a stop. Same formation. They go back to Jackson. Touchdown. 15 unanswered from DC. Last chance for Luis. 15 seconds to go. Throwing for the end zone. Intercepted by Josh Proctor and Gamble on the defenders as an underdog. DC 4-1. Houston, CJ Johnson on the road in the Alamo Dome. Second quarter, Roughnecks up 9-0. Kellen Mond picked off by Candy Corn Elder. Trick or treat for the Roughnecks defense. Now into the third, Captain Kirk Merritt gonna find pay dirt and put the Roughnecks up 18-0. Just before Jarrett Garantano gonna be picked off by Rayshad Robin Williams like Peter Pan, taking it all the way back to Neverland. And the Houston Roughnecks bully the Brahmas 27-3. Wow, that was a hard one to pack into 3 minutes. But probably the most fun, TPG, I ever had doing one of those.
Yeah, Matt. I mean, it was probably the best weekend of games we had so far, from the shocker of a game we had Friday night to, the shootouts we had Saturday night and early this Sunday morning. It was just an excellent weekend of football wall to wall.
Anytime DC gets a win, it's a good weekend for me. Of course, it was very eventful. All the underdogs won in week 5 of the UFL. I also think that Houston-San Antonio game at the end of the card ended a 9-game streak for the over. So it was a 9-1 run for unders in our first 10 games of the season, and then we hit 9 overs in a row. So you were a little early, a little premature with your prediction that offenses were going to start to turn it on. But now they have pretty much everybody besides San Antonio has figured out their offense, and it has been electric. I mean, we saw 70 points, right, in the DC game.
Oh, yeah.
Insanity. Never taken under again. Life is too short. to bet the under. Don't listen to Rocco Lacco. We do have our standings. Things shook up this week. And we talked about what's it going to take to get to the playoffs in the XFL conference. I think it's going to take 7-3. I don't think you can be 6-4, TPG, in this conference.
No, I mean, the top of the division's really strong. I mean, Battlehawks get a great win, put themselves back in the mix. We thought, we'd see a little bit more life out of San Antonio, but, it's a little disappointing on that end. But yeah, between those three teams, I mean, makes even next week for the Battlehawks even bigger because you just can't lose to a divisional opponent twice and expect to make it.
And on the flip side, I think 5-5 might get you there in the USFL. So for those who are on podcasts, just running through our standings on the USFL side, it's Birmingham with a head-to-head tiebreaker over Michigan with a head-to-head win, 3-2 right now. Houston is 2-3. So that guaranteed Michigan/Birmingham playoff, here comes CJ Johnson to maybe crash the party. And then you've got Memphis with their first win now, not completely dead yet, at 1-4. In the XFL side, DC back in first at 4-1. St. Louis and Arlington are in second. You give Arlington the head-to-head advantage there with a tiebreaker. And the Brahmas back to the grave at 1-4. Now officially 2 games back from everybody else. With that comes our best bet results. We just talked about life being too short to bet the under. I'll tell you this one in Memphis and Birmingham at 37.5. You just saw the kick 6 on the fastest 3 minutes. That did me in. As soon as that happened, I was cooked. I knew it was over. You cannot survive things like that. And we even got to the end of that game, TPG, and I was looking okay.
Yeah, I mean, Stallions don't die easy. They don't roll over and they don't make life easy for your bets either. So, no. But hey, good to see fight out of them because they were pretty dead early.
Yeah, it was 20-12 there. And, if Cookus doesn't throw that touchdown, Memphis gets a stop there. The under comes in. But we dropped that one. It was a 1-2 week because we lost San Antonio -3. I apologize for this one. I completely was on the wrong side of this game. I don't even have a thought about what I was looking at. I think I just thought San Antonio was more talented. Clearly not the case. Houston with a dominant effort. And San Antonio just with a stinker here. A little bit of line movement I should have known. Houston, I think, closed at either +2 or +1.5. So they were taking some money at close. But, yeah, that is a game I thought was a layup.
Well, and I said before, I mean, off the air when me and you were talking, we should know better to listen to ourselves what we say. Yeah. San Antonio coming off that big win last week. I was real concerned too about them dumping the water jug over Party's head, and then yeah, it just calls for a letdown spot. So we just got to be smarter. We got to listen to ourselves because then we'll be really seeing green.
Well, it's betting 101, right? Especially in football, we know across any league, teams are likely to bounce back and teams are likely to have letdown spots and trap games. I know that stuff sounds cliche when we talk about it, but it's happened. You saw it happen to DC. They came off an emotional win over St. Louis, turned around, lost to the worst team in the league in San Antonio. Now it happened to the Brahmas. They turn around, get an emotional win. They lose to not a great opponent in Houston. I think Houston still has some issues. I don't think they're a playoff team. So, yeah, just a dismal effort from San Antonio. Really feel for their fans because that win last week had to have them riding high, and then to go to the game and to witness whatever the hell you want to call that. I mean, Party's down 18, kicking a field goal. Yeah, I mean, it's the not having Wade and AJ starting to rear its ugly head a little bit, and this is an overwhelming thing for Party to have to deal with, but we'll get to that. A lot more to get to. Of course, I'll tell you, I'll keep telling you, I don't care, I'll beat the dead horse. If DC has a plus sign next to their name, it is free money. It will pay the rent, it will pay the light bill, it will pay the college tuition. Get as much down as you can on that thing because they are 3-0 as an underdog. Straight up, didn't even have to take the number, take the money line. And guess what? Michigan, DC next week. Guess who opened as a 2.5-point dog?
Don't tell me.
Michigan.
Don't tell me.
The DC Defenders. Let's make it 4-0. I already locked it in because I know it's going to get closer to a pick by the game. That lines up. Go get that sucker while you can. They have not learned their lesson about this team, and I don't think they will. The books don't want to overreact. So that is best bet results. We are 7-5 coming in, maybe 7-6. I'll have to look at the official record, but we had a 1-2 week. Still, I think maybe one game above 500, but maybe it's even. We'll see. All right. So Michigan and St. Louis, probably game of the week, I would say. I mean, you can make a case for DC Arlington, but with everything surrounding this and the kind of fallout post game, and I think it moved the needle, right? At prime time in the Battle Dome, big plays, Joe Tess, good crowd, right? Had that big game feel, TPG, and unfortunately, yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, it definitely had all the makings of a great, playoff type atmosphere. The dome was rocking. Fans were out in full force. Team came out with some new life, some new energy this week, and that's exactly what we were looking for, and I couldn't be happier of how the Battlehawks responded this week.
And unfortunately, things happen, and it was overshadowed by something else that happened, extracurricular, after the game, with Samson Nacua getting an altercation with a fan. And before we give you any kind of context on this, let's just roll the clip. Wow. So, want to say right off the bat, we are privileged and grateful to have built the platform that we have in spring football. Anybody who knows TPG and I, we don't think we're important. We know we're a small, dumb show that means nothing in the big picture, but we're grateful that we have fans who submit things to us that they either take themselves or they see. Now, this video is not my video. Let me be very clear. I was not in St. Louis. TPG was not in St. Louis. This was submitted by a fan who tagged us in a tweet Sunday morning. So not even Saturday night, by the way, Sunday morning, and said in their Twitter post, I found this on a story. So we assume Instagram or Snapchat. So we were the third set of eyes to see it. It was recorded. It was posted on Instagram or Snapchat. Then it was posted publicly on Twitter with us tagged in it. And I then reposted it. And with our platform, it went viral. So just want everybody to know it's not my video. Number two, I have zero agenda here. None whatsoever. I have no opinion on this situation. I think that you would have had to be there to know all the details and all the facts because you don't know when the camera turns on. So I'm not going to say anything to defend anybody. I'm not going to say anything to support anybody. If you don't feel that way, that is perfectly fine. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you and tell you that you had to be there in order to know what truly happened here. If you want to make a conclusion based on what you saw, that is your right. You go ahead and do that. What I'm saying personally is I don't know what happened. So I have zero agenda, zero narrative to share here other than we have a platform to show you something that happened that was very unfortunate at the end of a UFL game that could have major repercussions for certain individuals. So I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to kick it to you, TPG, who is a diehard St. Louis fan, who knows what it's like to be in the Dome. Again, nothing against St. Louis fans. You already hate me, so I can say this because it doesn't matter anymore. It is sometimes a toxic environment, but that's not any different than anywhere else in sports, right? This is how it is. It's just amplified in the Battle Dome in this league because there's more of you.
Well, yeah, going back to the clip, I mean, when we were tagged in it this morning, and I saw it, I was like, holy cow, like this is absolutely insane. And then we got on the phone and talked, but it was just super interesting to kind of be on the the frontier of a viral, one of the most viral clips of the weekend. You could argue that's probably might be even more viral than the whole Shedeur Sanders getting prank called on draft day. But yeah, I mean, my jaw was completely on the floor. We talked about, what could potentially happen if we push this out, and we decided to do it, and we're just doing what we see, and we're pushing it out. So, but like getting into, I guess, the video, my whole thoughts on it. I don't know context. I don't know what was said. I don't know, anything basically than what I've seen in the 10 seconds. We kind of know Samson is a little bit of a, he's a fiery dude, he gets fired up like most football players. And I understand too, like coming from someone who's played football, like when you're in that, when you're on the field and you're seeing red, there's not a lot of like justification for your actions. But as a professional athlete, or just a professional in general, like there is no reason why that should ever be acceptable. It's one of the probably the most unprofessional things you can do. And now, Samson, you kind of positioned yourself into a category of your own with Ron Artest. So, but yeah, not great. I mean, it is what it is, Matt. We kind of talked about this longer than we probably wanted to. If you want a better in-depth discussion on it, go look at Matt's Twitter post. Go read the comments.
Don't
go look at our TikTok.
For the love of God, don't
read the comments. I mean, the comments section are crazy. Yeah. So, but yeah, just a very interesting thing that transpired, and we'll find out this week what are the ramifications of that. But I mean, as for the Panthers, I mean, the fallout, I think, after a game like this is crazy. I mean, you get, Bryce Perkins in the press conference kind of looking at Mike Nolan being like, is this guy crazy? Like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Clearly, he probably doesn't have control over his locker room if he's got guys doing like that. So,
yeah,
I mean,
let's
maybe
save that before I get real fired up here, because I do want I have a very, unlike what I have as far as an opinion of the Nacua slap.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have much to say about it. I have the opposite about Mike Nolan. I have very strong opinions of Mike Nolan that we'll get to, but
sorry to jump the gun on that.
No, it's just frustrating. But yeah, to kind of put a bow on this whole thing, listen, it's not that serious. Nobody was hurt. Everybody is okay. It did not escalate, like TPG mentioned Ron Artest, where that situation did. This did not escalate. It was a moment where if you were there in person, watching the video, I'm likely to believe that you probably didn't even realize what occurred in the moment unless you were either Samson, the fan, or the people in the surrounding area, like the direct surrounding area. Maybe you found out what happened, but all the people on the field, if you watch the video back and watch their faces, they're in shock. They don't even realize what they just saw. If they saw a high five, if they saw a smack, if they just saw, it's too quick. And that's why, in the court of social media, people need to relax. It's not that serious. Yes, there will probably be repercussions for this. Of course, the UFL did release a statement via press release. They did not name Samson Nacua. They did not name Adonis Alexander. They did not name anybody. They said there was an incident between Michigan players and a St. Louis fan or a fan or whatever. And they said that they are investigating and have no further comment, but they are actively investigating this matter, right? So very cookie cutter press release. But yeah, that's what I'm here to say. I mean, if you're going to be an internet lawyer about this and call a lawsuit and this is going to, tank the UFL because they can't afford to pay out whatever they're going to have to pay to this fan, please drink a beer. Go touch some grass. Go out, get yourself a nice dinner. Get the hell offline because you need to relax, okay? These incidents that happen don't need your opinion about lawsuits and about the UFL failing. Yeah, it's unfortunate that it happened, but I don't have to tell you, right? Any publicity is good publicity. The fact of the matter is here, there are very few things that could happen that would get less eyeballs on the UFL. We actually know that what's going to happen here is there's going to be more people watching the UFL now because of this incident, because things like this get more eyeballs on the league, right? So for better or for worse, that is the one silver lining that you could put here, is that it made things more interesting. and nobody got hurt, hopefully, unless that guy has some injury that I don't know about.
Busted eardrum.
Well, yeah. He ate it like a champ, so we'll leave it at that. Any final thoughts, TPG, before we wrap it up?
I mean, yeah, just surprised, especially, Samson being a NFL guy, you don't expect that. Maybe a guy that's, played like lower level college football, maybe first like big stage is the UFL, but, surprising for a guy that's, been at the highest level to, conduct himself like that. But I mean, I'm ready to put this discussion to rest. I mean,
yeah. I do want to apologize to all the PR folks, whether it was from the Panthers or from the league or from the LA Rams that have to deal with Puka Nacua, that we kind of ruined their Sunday when this clip went viral, because anybody who works in PR knows crisis communications is a big part of your job. And, those people, that's what they're there for. Ultimately, they are communications managers as their day job. But when shit hits the fan like this, those people are needed more than ever. Right, to save these players. And that's what having a publicist is all about. So, again, we'll wait for the official statement. Something will probably come down tomorrow morning, if I had to guess. We'll see what it is. I think the funniest thing that happened during this entire incident was actually Dean Blandino reviewing the call, and we have the clip.
Yeah, and look, had it been a closed fist punch, then we would have come in and made it a foul from the command center. But that was pushing and shoving, open hand.
Dean picking up the flag. Do I have to say it? Do I really have to say that's not real? Like, do I have to say? Because, like, it, yeah.
It was so funny reading the comments online about, like, what do you mean? Like, he clearly slapped it. Like, it was just so funny. And I mean, even when he said that in the Arlington game, you called me right away and you're like, dude, did you hear what he said? I'm like, yeah, this will make for a good, nice little meme out of this. But oh my gosh, the people online, how dumb can you be to fall for that?
Right. It was so toxic in my replies that I needed to make light of a situation where, again, it's not that serious, right? Chill out. We can joke about this thing. And we use Dean Blandino as the butt of our joke, but no, that is not real.
Hey, I take it as a compliment though. Like, my editing skills must be better than I thought. I mean,
yeah.
Cut and paste. There you go. A little slow-mo, slow it down by 50%. I mean, hey, I'm a pro at this.
So we'll see what happens. But now it's time to talk ball, because I don't want to sit here and talk about how unfortunate it is that this game was overshadowed by something else and then sit here and talk all about it. So we are going to talk about the game. St. Louis 32, Michigan 27. And the video of the slap wasn't the only fan submission we got. In fact, late Saturday night, one of our most loyal listeners from day one had a message for TPG.
TPG, what did I tell you? Give Max Duggan first team reps. Give him a week. Look at what he produced. Just as Nick Stradamus predicted. So what do we do after our St. Louis win? St. Louis Bud Light and a victory cigar. On to Arlington next week. Cheers, gentlemen.
That is one of the best things I've ever seen. Nick Stradamus is at your neck, and you deserve it, buddy, because you dropped his name on the show and he came right back at your neck. Oh, you hate to see Battlehawk fans divided.
Matt, you're making a mockery out of this show. You're making a mockery out of this show. Clips here and there. I mean, what are we doing? I thought.
How do I not show that?
I think we talk ball here.
He's like the Undertaker, like sitting in a dark room, just like rising from the coffin,
smoking his cigar.
Yeah, That was pretty intimidating.
No, it was. Hey, I thought it was great. I mean, I didn't catch it last night, but watching it this morning, yeah, it was a real treat to wake up to. But yeah, I mean, Nick, I gotta admit, your guy played a great game. I mean, vastly improved from a week ago. Really impressed with how he was able to run the football, and I thought Manny was one of the better open field runners when it came to quarterback. But hey, Duggan, like the combination of speed and power with him, I mean, just and he's a guy that doesn't die easy. He doesn't give up on plays. He's diving headfirst. He's lowering his shoulder. So I mean, yeah, I mean, hats off to you, Nick. I mean, you called it from day one. But yeah, I mean, I was not ready to, admit to it until I saw it. But now that I've seen it, I'm excited to what the rest of the season's going to look like.
I'm just happy Nick wasn't the one who got smacked. I'm grateful for that. Yeah, this was what the UFL needed. I mean, this was Hakeem Butler back with a vengeance. Shame on you, Vegas. Shame on you for listing his receiving yards prop at 31.5.
Oh.
May I remind you who you're talking about here. This is one of the best receivers in spring football history. And you know how you know that? Because when he does something good, everybody wants to say he pushed off or he committed OPI. That is how you know you're a great player. When nobody will give you credit when you do something good because you're expected to do something good. Right? And that's exactly what it was. And I knew that was what it was going to be. Soon as I saw him active, they're sleeping on Butler. He's a game changer. And what did Anthony Beck say last week? Yeah, we were super cautious with him. Well, he looked 100%, TPG.
I mean, yeah, he posted the Randy Moss stat line. What do you have? 2 catches, 120 something yards, 2 touchdowns,
and 1 MFer.
And 1 MFer on live television. He had Sam Acho eyes wide, like, whoa. But hey, ESPN's cool. They're not like, corporate Fox where, they bleep out everything. They let that motherfucker fly. Whereas, Fox just release the uncensored, like, game tape, please. Like, I want to hear Skip cursing out his special teams coach. Like, I want to know what's said.
Yeah,
but they don't.
Joe Tess, man. Oh, Joe Tess at his peak right now, coming out of WrestleMania. Obviously, he's doing a ton with the WWE right now. One of our favorite college football announcers growing up, does UFC as well. Boy, can he rise to the moment. And I'll tell you right now, as a sports fan, anybody who talks about the UFL and how you'll never give it a chance and how it'll never be entertaining and it'll fold in a couple years, I want you to turn on that Joe Tess call and tell me you're not entertained. From somebody who's a veteran sports announcer, tell me you're not entertained by Joe Tess getting fired up. He did his best to sell the UFL. And we had the lead in from the draft. So
and if you weren't fired up for this one, your wood's not wet. Or your wood is wet.
You keep saying that.
I keep on fucking it up.
Did you get the goddamn saying right already? No, there was a moment with Joe Tess where McGagan called Liz Lucky Hooker, or Belfay, one of them.
Yeah, it was Belfay.
The play call was Liz Lucky Hooker. And Tess paused and he said, well, we've entered the red light district portion of the broadcast. Crickets from Jordan Rogers. Not a word.
You're stunned.
Not a word out of the color man. But I'll ask you this, TPG, because I kept coming back to this. When you were watching Max Duggan on Saturday night, did you get Adrian Martinez vibes? Because I sure as hell did.
A little bit. I mean, I more so just got vibes from him back in college, doing what he did best. Obviously, the passing game, I mean, they didn't really throw the ball a lot. He only threw the ball 8 times, 9 completions, 75% completion percentage. Pretty damn efficient. And I can only imagine that this pass game is going to get opened up more over the next couple of weeks. But the goal of this week was just getting him comfortable in the offense, really, because last week really didn't look very comfortable at all. Kind of thrusted in that QB1 spot after Manny goes down. But yeah, I mean, they did a great job mixing in, quarterback runs, quick passes to get the ball out of his hands. The run game, I mean, not completely great, but has much improved. So, but yeah, when I look at this game, I think about this sequence that happened in the second quarter that I think kind of really turned everything on its head and made me feel good about the position my team was in. So, second quarter, Michigan's driving down. This is before Etling goes in. Perkins is driving down. They get a 4th and 3 by midfield, and they're going for it. Michigan is going for it on 4th and 3. Matt, can you believe that? I couldn't believe that Mike Nolan finally had the balls to say, yeah, offense, we're going to go for it.
Oh, I should have brick.
And what happens? They come up 2 yards short. True Line spots them there. And what happens? Battlehawks get ball at midfield. They drive down. Max punches it in. We take the lead. Great. Feeling really good. Then the next drive, they make the switch. Etling comes in. What happens? He throws a pick to Cam Kelly, sets the Battlehawks up in good field position again. And how does that end? Max Duggan's second rushing touchdown of the day from 8 yards out. That one fired me up because he broke a couple tackles. So I was feeling good about the spot I was in. And then they come out of halftime. They get the ball. They drive down. They end in 3. And you hear football coaches talk a lot about it's important winning the middle 2 quarters of the game. Obviously, I know there was, tie game, multiple lead changes heading into the 4th, but the Battlehawks just had this like calm, cool, composed mantra, swagger, moxie about them. Whereas Michigan, it kind of felt like they were playing catch up ever since the second quarter.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we had talked about 3rd and long being a nightmare for St. Louis in the prior 4 games. The average 3rd down distance for St. Louis on Saturday night was 5. So they kept that thing manageable. They got positive gains on 1st and 2nd down. Yeah, and the offensive line played well. 2 sacks only given up. And Max had time. He had time to find Hakeem on those long balls. 9 of 12 passing. And then obviously Blake Jackson hits the big one. Don't want to take any credit away from Blake, who was a D3 quarterback at, was it Mary Hardin?
Mary Hardin Baylor. Yeah, if you're a D3 football guy like myself, Mary Hardin Baylor. I mean, they're in the top echelon of D3 teams, right up there with like North Central, Whitewater, Mount Union. So yeah, they're a contender. And he was the former quarterback, like they said, yeah. And he put that thing on a dot. He just threw that to a spot and said, Hakeem, just run under this guy.
Yeah, Blake Jackson, a guy who, we got to get him. We got to get him on the show.
Yeah, sure. Definitely now.
He's next up. So I know, we've talked about St. Louis offensively. Defensively, left a little bit to be desired.
Yeah.
I think Cam Kelly had a big play, but, Anthony Beck did mention after the game that they were happy with the switch because they don't know if they would have been able to win that game if Perkins was in. So when an opposing coach admits that should really tell you, Mike Nolan.
Mm-hmm.
The opposing coach is literally telling you they were happy with your decision. That is the ultimate moment of reflection on you. And before I get into this, because I need to take a sip for a second, TPG, any thoughts on the Battlehawks defense? Did they take a step back, or is Perkins just that good?
Perkins absolutely lit it up. He was playing out of his mind, and when they did pull him for Etling, he was, I think, 11 of 12 with a touchdown. And when they run these RPOs with Perkins, it's an absolute cheat code in this offense. Nobody can freaking stop it. And I don't know why the decision is to switch that up and throw the rhythm off. But just looking at the box score, right? Michigan outgained St. Louis by over 100 yards, threw for 100 more yards than they did. 23 first downs to 16. They dominated on the offensive side of the ball, and yeah, it was scary, with Perkins, slinging it, finding guys wide open. I know Sayosi Mariner had a big game, Malik Turner had a big game. Yeah, they did not make it easy for our defense one bit. And then, on top of all that, Austin Fiolu goes down late in the game with an injury. So that's something to be monitoring this week because he's a big focal point of that defensive line and really does a lot when it comes to, stopping the run.
So Bryce Perkins, 21 of 25, 235 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 carries for 14 yards on the ground. Mike Nolan. The definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over and over and over again and expecting a different result. You have never scored a single point this season with Danny Etling on the field. You took the potential MVP out of that football game when he was 11 for 12 and subjected him to complete humiliation on national television as a sideline reporter who's doing her job, not her fault. Had to interview that man who was crumbling inside watching his team lose this game because this bozo is in the game instead of him. Rewatch the tape. He's walking out of the interview. Etling throws the pick. Bryce Perkins is a pro's pro, by the way. What he said about this is a league of opportunity and this is what happens when you play in this league. And he was supportive of Danny. Great teammate. That's the guy you want to be around because that is media training. That's a tough situation to be in. Where we've seen some really good players crumble and break down in front of the media and tell you how they really feel. Bryce watered it down. He didn't tell us how he really felt. But if you watched him walk away from the interview and saw the body language when he threw that interception, you could tell everything you needed to know about the relationship between Bryce Perkins and Mike Nolan. He's just really good at faking it. He's really good at faking that he's not pissed off because he's a great teammate. I'll tell you what Mike Nolan's not good at faking. Being a football coach. He's not even good at faking that he's a football coach. It's not just Danny Etling. It's the fact that your offensive line has to suffer and have 2, 3 false start penalties because you want to change the cadence in the loudest environment in spring football in front of 37,000, whatever the hell it was, cacaw wackos screaming their head off on a Saturday night. You get false start penalties. He's making overthrows. He throws the pick in a crucial point of the game that you had touched on. It's not just him. Toa Taua goes 15 carries for 74 yards and 2 touchdowns, part of a 2-game run now that has seen him run for over 135 yards. You sent that man back to the country club to sit on a golf cart and caddy for people because you cut his ass in camp. And to make it all worse, you throw your super challenge, and Dean Blandino is talking to you like his grandpa. Okay, Grandpa, here's the situation. You have to pick. Do you want to challenge defensive pass interference or do you want to challenge offensive pass interference? If you challenge offensive, it's offsetting is the best you can do. How many times did he have to say it? And what did Nolan say? I want the offensive. He still challenged the offensive pass interference. After it was explained to him, he would have no benefit in doing so. And as you pointed out to me over the phone, right after we talked about, we saw the ending of this game, there was a play at the end that could have been challenged if he had one in his pocket.
Oh, it could have been so big.
One more thing. And then I'm done with Mike Nolan because I do this every week. And it doesn't matter. We're going to get the same Mike Nolan. He'll never change. Mike Nolan will never win anything significant with the Michigan Panthers. They will never win the USFL conference. They'll never win a UFL championship. They'd be lucky if they win 5 games this season with the way he wants to approach this. He's got to look himself in the mirror and change. And I don't know if he's capable of it. And I also hope he knows that the conduct of his players is not just on them. They're professionals, but so is he. And he has a job to control his players. And you didn't see Mike Nolan anywhere in that situation. I don't blame him as much for that. Of course, you can't be everywhere at once. But if you want to blame somebody for the situation, Mike Nolan is, he's not off the hook here, right? We seen Anthony Becht in the scrum in D.C. when there was a fight, pulling guys away. Where's Mike Nolan? That's all I got to say. And I've made my peace with this, that I will never bet this team because of him. I'll never pick them to win anything again. And they're dead to me. And I hope DC rolls them by 30.
Fighting words. I love it.
DPG.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I don't have much else to say on this game. We could put a bow on it other than, like I said, I thought, Michigan, looking at the box score, they dominated pretty much every single category. The penalties were big for them, though. 10 penalties. It seemed like a lot of times when the Battlehawks did have, a third and long, they would get bailed out by these roughing the passer penalties. I believe there was 3 of them, to be exact, that happened. So another big play that puts your offense in good position when you're backed up. So, this team has a lot of soul searching to do this week for the Panthers. I mean, this is a type of loss like this could really, ruin your season, I think, from a locker room culture standpoint. So let's see how they bounce back. I'm not going to, be as drastic as you and completely write them off, because looking at this USFL conference division, whatever the fuck you want to call it, they are the best team between Birmingham, Memphis, Houston. They have, the best defense. They have the best run game. They have the best quarterback play out of all those 3 other teams. So
you called that a defense?
Their defense?
I didn't see a defense.
I mean, comparative to the other teams, I think, yeah, they do. They got some good players on that defense.
To me, it's frozen. Like you come in as the number 1 pass defense in the league against the number 8 pass offense, and that's what you look like. Yeah, maybe hard to prepare for Hakeem Butler being back, and maybe St. Louis wouldn't have been the worst pass offense if it wasn't for Manny Wilkins stinking it up against the DC defenders, and it wasn't for Hakeem being injured. Maybe they would have had better numbers, but Michigan was the number 1 pass offense, and they let a wide receiver throw a touchdown pass to another wide receiver. So, yeah, let's leave it at that. St. Louis gets the bounce back they needed. We had both picked them to do so. XFL is now 5-2. Well, Brahmas lose, so 5-3 now against the USFL in the season series. Anything we missed? We good to go to the next one?
Did you say something? I was frozen there for a second.
Oh, you're good. I was just saying, anything we missed on St. Louis? Are we ready to move on?
No, I'm good. Nice. I'm ready.
Sweet. All right.
Put a bow on this game.
DC 37, Arlington 33, 70 points.
What a game.
I am trying to remember a time we had 70 points in a UFL game.
Maybe, wasn't that Guardians Vipers game, XFL 2023? That was pretty high scoring. I don't know if it was as high scoring as this, but there was a lot of offense in that from what I remember.
That probably got there, yeah. Wow. This is a damn good one to win. This felt good. Because this schedule doesn't get any easier. Right? They're still going to have to see Arlington and St. Louis again. So this felt good. Because this was not an easy game to win. I mean, this was a game where the vibes were way off right from the jump. That first quarter did not have me very encouraged about my plus 3.5. And it got all the way to 8.5 live or higher based on when you checked it. there was a busted coverage right off the bat where Deontay Burnett makes a great play, but Bryce Thompson just misses a tackle. They bust the coverage in the back end, and he's gone. And you went through the same thing with Arlington. Scored right away on you, and then it was an uphill battle. And I'm thinking, this is a repeat. They're going to get up 11-0, 16-0, whatever they did, and then you're going to have to claw back. Well, thank God for Jordan Ta'amu, because this offense went from 2023, run it down your face, and you can't stop us, to 2024, Jordan left out to dry with 0 run game and injuries on the offensive line and receivers, to 2025, Jordan saying, F it, somebody's down there open. He's just letting it fly.
He's MVP, I think.
There was a bet on DraftKings for Jordan to have 300 passing yards and 3 touchdowns at plus 1,800. It cashed. You didn't need a parlay. You didn't need to pick all the underdogs to win. You just needed Jordan Ta'amu to play a normal game. This is a normal game for him now, to have 303 touchdowns. And I'm blown away because it never was like this in the past. But he has gotten better as a quarterback. And I'm damn sure NFL scouts are watching. And I'm damn sure as a passer, he's good enough to be a QB2 in the NFL. Not a starter, but a QB2.
I mean, I thought both quarterbacks played great in this one. I mean, they both had over 200 yards in the first half, which was absolutely crazy. And Jordan also had another one on the ground, which I was super pumped because I had him anytime rushing touchdown.
2 in a row.
That's besides the point, though. But yeah, this game was gave me a lot of deja vu comparative to the one they had last year in Arlington. Same thing. Arlington gets off to a hot start. DC looks like they didn't get off the bus. Then second half happens. You know, you catch a spark. You get that big fumble from Kalen Ballage. That was huge. I don't think they actually ended that drive with points, but you know, to march it all the way, yeah, throw a pick. But then you know, being able to get another drive back, march it down the field, punch it in late with Deion Jackson. I mean, it had all the makings of such a great comeback game, and they didn't even need the 4th and 12 for the comeback. So, which was even cooler. So, but yeah, kudos to Jordan. I mean, he was absolutely on fire. And Braylon Sanders, I mean, what a day from this guy. He had 9 targets and only 3 catches, but he was towards the end of that game. He had some big plays at the end of that one. And like you said, Jordan was just basically, it seemed like he was just hucking it up to him, and he was finding it.
Yeah, it's scary to think what this pass game would look like with Ty Scott. Look at it without him. I mean, Antonio steps up. 4 catches, 33 yards on 5 targets. You know, pretty good cover corner with Jaden Price having some problems with Javon Antonio out there. It's a great 5 receiver rotation. It seems like they get behind the corners and the safeties consistently. And Jordan even missed a couple to Powell where it was just on the wrong side. That would have went for touchdowns. But I think my biggest takeaway, TPG, from watching this entire game and sweating through it all was you could tell the offense really stepped up in the first half. Like, did enough to keep it close and keep you in it. Mm-hmm. And you were wondering, you knew that wasn't enough. Like, you're not going to score 50. So would the defense be able to step up in the second half? And they did. I think Arlington had 6 points in the second half.
Yeah, they didn't.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 2 field
they had
goals.
27
did not score a touchdown.
First half, yeah. Completely fell apart that
That was
half.
The difference.
And it was kind of like the Arlington of last year, too, where we couldn't finish games. What were you going to say?
They must have went in the locker room and got Greg on FaceTime with the adjustments that were made. They were not giving up the big pass plays. They were stopping the run. Yeah, Balaj looked all right, but then they forced a fumble. Like, we already know DC is going to force turnovers. They're going to get picks. They're going to get fumble recoveries. That's been since day one of this Greg Williams, Blake Williams scheme, whatever you want to call it. Even back to XFL, they were a turnover machine, right? Constantly getting turnovers and picks. So you know they're going to get those. But I thought it was complimentary football. Offense really stepped up first half. Defense stepped up in the second half and did enough. And what a mistake by Bob Stoops to re-kick that punt at the end.
Yeah.
I know it was called out on the broadcast, but that's a play where anything could happen. I mean, I know it resulted in a gain for DC of if he wouldn't have re-kicked it, so I was happy to see it. But in the mind of a Renegades fan, you're probably thinking, this could get blocked. Roland could take it to the house. He could get a big return inside the 20. I know you have faith in Marquette, but like way too much variable hanging there to re-kick that. And what happened? DC got it on the plus 40. I'm thinking, play to win. The hell with the field goal. And when I heard Fred Keiss come over and tell Jordan, hey, you got points, don't force it. I'm like, fuck that. Force it. We're winning or losing on this drive. I don't want to see a field goal. I don't want to play this team in overtime. They're one of the best conversion teams in the league. They're automatic down there. I don't want to go to overtime. I want to win this damn game while we have them. And we had their defense on their heels. And they were reeling. Had them right where we wanted them. I got to give you a credit. Deion Jackson is a real force. He is. I mean, hurdling a guy. Abram Smith doesn't have that burst anymore. And for Jackson to go only 6 carries for 32 yards. But, you know, he makes the most of his carries. Kind of reminds me of like an Anthony McFarland in that way.
Definitely. I mean, the run game, I know you're going to touch on this, but yeah, what's going on, dude? Like, how can we get this run game going? Because then, like, I think that's the only real thing I think holding this team back. Because once they're going to be able to run the football consistently and Jordan doesn't have to do this Superman shit and put the team on his back, I mean, then you're going to get back to your, 2023 Defenders days.
Yeah. Again, going back to just, it's kind of sad to see, like, this offense used to just run it down your throat, ground and pound. Abram Smith, 150 yards a game, led the XFL by miles in running. And when they had, this staff had come in, Fred Keiss was all about the run game. That was his MO. But, they've adapted. And I don't know if anybody can stop Jordan right now, because DC doesn't give up sacks. For as bad as the O-line has been in run blocking, they only sacked Jordan twice. And I think that was the first 2 since maybe week 1.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So he just, and they have design rollouts for him. And they had the one rolling across his body I didn't like. You never roll a right-handed quarterback out to the left side. That was not a good look. But no, I got to give it to Coach Keiss. That final drive when they mic'd him up. Hats off to ESPN, by the way. Great weekend of coverage for them. They mic'd up Coach Keiss right when I wanted to hear him going on that final drive. And I think where ESPN is very good, that Joel Klatt could be better, is they don't talk over the OC. I understand Joel does his job a certain way, and he's not trying to interrupt. But when the OC's talking, I think 9 out of 10 of us want to hear what the OC has to say. Instead of the breakdown play-by-play. Just kind of like shut up for a while. Like that audio blitz they do is great. And boy, Coach Keiss was cooking from the booth on that final drive. Not only was he calling great plays, you see the 13 men on the field he called out?
Yeah. They were all out of sorts
right at the end of the game there. Arlington has 13 guys on the field.
Got caught subbing.
So he was quick to notice that. Yeah, and he got Jordan up on the ball, and they got the penalty. They drew the penalty.
I will give you credit, though, because you did say in the pregame that the difference was going to be that Jordan can run and Luis cannot. And he had a big rushing touchdown in the second half. And when Luis was getting pressured late in that game, and they made it interesting. They drove down the field, a big catch by J.P. Payton and Tyler Vaughns to get him in range to, actually score. But Perez had nowhere to go when he was getting pressured. He couldn't escape. He couldn't make something out of it. And yeah, DC was able to get home on him, and just a lack of mobility. I know it's been getting better, but still, that was a huge difference in this one.
Yeah, I know Aaron Dolan always comes on to talk about props. The prop that I was most interested in before this game was over 2.5 touchdowns taken away by Dean Blandino from DC. Unfortunately, we didn't get there. We did get 2 touchdowns taken away by Dean Blandino. One on a touchdown catch by Mason Fairchild. Another one on a pick 6 by Bryce Thompson. Took 2 touchdowns away, and DC still scored 37 points.
I don't feel too bad about the second one, though, because was that the drive where Roland caught the bubble screen for a touchdown? I think it was.
Oh,
so
that over 2.5. That over 2.5 doesn't discriminate. Yeah, it doesn't matter. They were touchdowns. They were touchdowns on the field.
No, I'm just saying I don't feel bad for you because he scored. And I mean, Roland a big day too. He had 12 targets. Like, that's crazy. So 61 yards and a score. Great day from him.
I think in the NFL, both those plays are touchdowns. Just saying, could have scored. Could have had the 50. Could have had the 50 burger. Could have had the 50 burger.
Could have.
But I'll live with the 37, 33. I do want to say some positive things about Arlington. Man, that's a hell of a run defense. They got some problems in the pass game, and I knew that. I had them kind of mid-pack in the UFL with their pass defense. I think they have some great players back there, but they've had some busts. Like, I go back to that last drive they had against Birmingham. Like, they're just not rising to the occasion in the moment, other than against St. Louis, like they did in that sense. And Ajane Harris is a dog. He had another 2 picks, I think, one on a conversion and then another one.
Yeah.
They have great players, don't get me wrong, but yeah, they didn't really stop or slow down Jordan much, and that's going to be a concern for them. But I do think their run defense is the best in the UFL, without a doubt. I mean, Chris Odom is a game breaker. The dude is just killing it everywhere. I mean, against the pass, rushing the passer, and against the run. He's been dominant. I don't think Arlington has allowed anybody to run over 100 yards on him throughout, like as a team, throughout the whole season. So
until next week.
Still think this is the playoff preview. Still think these are the best 2 teams in the UFL, and I think that we're going to see it again. We're going to see it again not only in a couple weeks, but we're going to see it again in week 11 in the playoffs for a 3rd time. So it's good for spring football when Luis Perez and Jordan Tamu start dueling, because that's the 9th time, and they're all electric. So
is Tamu the spring king? Is Tamu the spring king?
No. Because of the championship.
Gotcha. So maybe if Jordan wins it this year, you could argue, is he the spring king?
Oh,
I would
1,000%.
I mean,
but he's lacking that title, and not only lacking that title, but the way Luis changed that team in 2023 to win that title, I think it solidified him as the spring king. Like, that was the ultimate flex to come in and save that middling team. So yeah, well, we don't want to go too ESPN on you and do the whole LeBron Jordan thing with Tamu Perez. But yeah, we'll move on from that one. TPG and I both happy to see DC get a win. Can't believe I'm saying that, but we were.
The Boulevard parlay cashes.
TPG might at this point hate Arlington, I think, more than he does DC. I don't know if that would be crazy to say, but I know you hate the Renegades.
No, I mean,
hate this team.
I kind of hate the whole division, to be honest. I mean, San Antonio, you got cool uniforms, so you get the benefit of the doubt. It was fun watching you beat up on DC last week, but yeah, between DC and Arlington, I'm not a fan of either one.
All right, next game. Oh boy. We hit a lot right. We both picked St. Louis, we both picked DC, but in these final 2, we have some apologies. Yeah, we have some apologies to dish out. I think one is in order for Jim Manos, and that comes from you, TPG. You had said he was captain of a sinking boat to remind everybody.
Yeah, I did. I did indeed. And yeah, Jim, I'm sorry. I mean, your team came out and, took swung first early, and, you should have told us Dresser-Wynn was the dude. I didn't know he was like that. I didn't know he was a baller. So, yeah, ate a handful of shit on that one, but it was still fun watching the Stallions getting their ass kicked for about a half, and then they made it close. But I mean, amazing effort by the Showboats. Not like the pass game was great, the run game was clicking. I mean, and obviously, when you have a kick six, it's hard to lose then. But what an electric play! And I mean, I would love to talk to you. A big topic of discussion, Matt, I want to discuss about this game is that sequence with Skip Holtz bitching out his special teams coordinator, saying they could have ran time because they ran the clock all the way down from 30 seconds to 4, and the guy didn't tell him immediately, yeah, this is out of Mevis's range. And it was just fun. The whole Mevis thing is funny too, because they were hyping him up on the broadcast, and I was even thinking too, I'm like, damn, this guy's been 9 for 9, like, this guy's having a good season. And then the kick six happened. So yeah, it seems like the broadcasters just know what the game script is, and are always in there to throw a jinx before shit goes awry.
Yeah, I want to talk a lot about Memphis because they deserve it. But the one question I will pose about Birmingham, is Skip Holtz more stressed out without Zach Potter being at his right hand?
I think yes.
Is that fair to say now?
Absolutely.
That we kind of maybe underestimated Zach Potter, that everything he was getting credit for was maybe behind the scenes, and he did get a ton of credit for it, don't get me wrong. We gave him his flowers behind the scenes, but I don't think we really took into account how much that matters on game day. Because you see most of the GMs in this league sitting right next to either the offensive coordinator or being around the head coach. And you see it with Dave Bowler is on the sideline. You saw it with Rick Mueller today up sitting next to Chuck Long. Von Hutchins is like the hype man down there when he's on the DC sideline. Like, he has those guys ready to play. I don't know who Birmingham's GM is. I think it's Paul Roll or whoever. I'm not Paul familiar with him. So I think there's something wrong with Skip. He seems a little off. And I know he'll say it's execution, but it starts with him. And that was a debacle on special teams. And I think that the biggest debacle was, why aren't you challenging something? You're telling me a play just went 108 yards from end to end, and you can't find one thing? And they had the dude looking at the tablet. And I think Skip wanted a challenge, and then the special teams coach actually talked him out of it.
Yeah.
And said, like, don't. But I know he wanted to save it for the second half, and he's pretty conservative, I think, when it comes to his super challenges and making sure that he saves them for the big moments in the fourth quarter. But you got to throw it, and you got to find something. I mean, if you lose it, whatever, but the likelihood of a penalty happening on that play is like 95%. Something had to happen. Somebody had to hold. Somebody had to block in the back. Somebody had to blindside block or trip somebody. Like, there had to be something, and they didn't really even want them to look at it. So, Isaiah Henny. Blame it on a vodka. Blame it on a Henny. Yeah, man. Boy, can you imagine in that moment being a Crimson Tide / Stallions fan?
Yeah.
Talk about PTSD.
Horrible.
For that thing to happen in the same state a second time 12 years later. Man, and, another great opportunity that we had for a viral clip this weekend. You know what? Let's go ahead and play that too. Let's play the clip of Isaiah Henny synced up to the Auburn, Alabama kick six in 2013.
No, return by Chris Davis. Davis goes left. Davis gets a block. Davis has another block. Chris Davis. No flags. Touchdown. Auburn. An answered prayer.
Isn't that crazy? That was almost too, and I didn't have to really do much when I edited that. That was like perfectly synced to the TV call for CBS.
I still remember that like it was yesterday. I mean,
Yeah.
growing up watching college football, you don't forget plays like that. But yeah, like looking at Memphis though, I'm kind of mad at myself that I was so down about this team heading into this game. And I said this after the Roughnecks beat Memphis, like no team's as bad as you think they are. And I mean, yeah, I was down. I was really down on these guys. And obviously, last week there was a reason too with all the coaching turnover, but this week, I mean, the fact that they were able to install basically an entirely new offense within a week, and then to look as good as they did, and you're running the football really good, you're throwing for over 200 yards, you're taking the defending champs to OT, like, I mean, yeah, just tremendous fight out of these guys, and yeah, I owe them a massive apology, and I'm excited now to see if they could carry over this fight to next week when they have Houston, or is this going to kind of be like another sleepy spot that we've talked about, like with San Antonio, with DC in the past? Like, are we going to see this team going to get up? And I hope we do. And I think with this, new swagger, they will continue. But yeah, we just won't know until the game kicks off next week.
I would bet my life and yours that there will never be, ever, a spring football team that goes winless in the regular season. It will never happen. It will never happen. Orlando won a game. Houston won a game last year. Memphis won a game last year. And here we are, week 5, nobody's winless. It will never happen. And that's because of the parity in this league. And it's because of injuries in this league. Some injuries actually help teams. Crazy to say. Some really hurt them. Depends on the situation. But yeah, Deneric Prince got going, showed us his potential, ran hard, 5 yards a carry. This was the worst run offense in the league coming in. I didn't think they were going to get 20 yards rushing. They didn't do great. I mean, 88 as a team, but those run concepts, I think, is what I was the most impressed with. It seemed like under Wisenhunt, they were doing a lot under center. And now with Noel Mazzone, it's a lot of shotgun run. And it's a lot of inside zone. And it's a lot of getting Prince in space. Where I didn't see that with Wisenhunt. Is it fair to say that maybe Ken Wisenhunt is maybe past his prime a little bit?
No, I think it's completely fair to say. I mean, and even before the game started, they had Perry mic'd up in pregame, and he's talking to Mazzone, and he's making a jab about, finally we have an offense that, like, we understand, and we have a real play caller. I'm pretty sure that's what he said. So, like, it must have been really bad behind the scenes with this Memphis Showboats offense. But yeah, for how they were able to just rally and put it all together in a week, I mean, hats off to them.
Yeah, I did find it strange that when they came into the season with Ken Wisenhunt as their head coach, that they didn't name an offensive coordinator. Like, you're not Skip Holtz. Like,
yeah.
You're not Mike McDaniel. You know what I mean? Like, very few guys can do that. And we see Skip, like, struggling. Like, I know he would never hire an OC, but would Birmingham maybe be better off having somebody as a head coach and then Skip as the OC at times? Like, he's got too much on his plate. And that could have been the case with Wisenhunt. It was cool to see Jim Turner and Noel Mazzone kind of have, like, know their role and know their jobs and have each of an impact on the game. But yeah, man, Dresser win out of nowhere. UT Martin doesn't start a professional football game in what? They said 3 years, 2 years, yeah.
800 something days.
I mean, came out firing in that first quarter. And it almost, I know they didn't, but it felt like in the first quarter, they scored more points than they had all season. Like it truly felt to me like this was the first time I was seeing them as an effective offense.
Mm-hmm.
And I know at times they flashed in the Houston game, but like that was truly the first time, right in the first quarter, I was like, this is an effective team. Like they can actually move the ball with this guy. And his energy. Like we talk about this all the time. There's been some great energy over the years out of quarterbacks. I think a guy I think about a lot is Ben DiNucci. Just a fireball of energy. Luis does this. All the great ones, like AJ, wore his heart on his sleeve out there. Dresser Wynn, he's in command. Like, he's confident. It's not what it was with Wisenhunt, huddle up for 20 seconds and have Troy Williams mumble through a play call. It is like, all right, get on the ball. It reminded me a lot of Perez. And guys respond to that. Like, it's that sense of urgency. And
Absolutely.
You can tell Mazzone wants to run with tempo. I think that's undefeated in the UFL is tempo, right? There's no argument to be made against that, right? Like we know tempo wins you football games in the United Football League.
Absolutely.
And that's why DC is 4-1 because their offense is so fast. So yeah, what else? I mean, I was critical. Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to touch on Cookus. Thoughts on how he played. I mean, I didn't think he had a great start at all. He looked pretty out of sync. Didn't look like he knew where the ball was supposed to go. And I feel like a lot of with the Stallions offense is a good amount of pre-snap stuff. You got trips to one. There was one time he had like trips to one side and twins to another. I don't know where the ball's supposed to go, but like just right off the bat, like they had two guys over three. So it's like, why aren't you not looking to that side where you have the numbers advantage? Why are you looking to your two receivers side, short side of the field? And, it comes up unsuccessful. I was impressed, though, how he rallied second half, though. You find Jordan Thomas on a seam ball back of the end zone. That was a nice throw, hitting your guy in stride. And then to find Marlon Williams, again, back of the end zone. Big balls play right there. And then Jace, our boy, came up big on that 2-point to send it at OT. So, I mean, yeah, there is, some good in there. But for the most part, I just thought he looked, out of sync, not comfortable, not very confident with as to how he was supposed to operate this offense.
You know how you could tell that a quarterback hasn't practiced with the first team? Look at their rushing stats. Max Duggan, last week against Arlington, ran around like a madman. I know he did it again. Maybe that's more of his style, but when has Case Cookus ever ran for 83 yards in a football game in his life? Like, that's how you know he didn't practice and was purely relying on his athleticism. Like, so good for him that he did rip off 83 rushing yards because those plays kept him in the game. I guess with Cookus it was, where did you come in? What did you think of him? I know you said some things on Thursday where I felt like you were pretty confident in maybe in his overs if they were at the right number and the revenge spot going against Memphis, and you had some faith. I also did, but I was a little more hesitant because I think really all he needed to do was manage the game. I don't think he needed to win it. And it became evident as the game went on that, you can't really be a game manager in Skip Holtz's offense. There's just too much pressure on you as a quarterback to do that. And I felt like Dresser Wynn, with both guys making their first start in the season, I felt like Dresser Wynn had a lot less pressure on him than Case Cookus. Seemed like Case Cookus was, and maybe that's just a product of playing for Skip. That like you got to go in as a quarterback and know that every single time you come off the field, you're going to get lectured. And I don't think any other coach in the league really does that. So it's a lot of pressure. It's been like that with Corral. It's been like that with Martinez. Now it's like that with Cookus. So I thought he was okay. I was impressed, and I will continue to say, the fact of the matter is, the Birmingham Stallions are 3-0 with Matt Corral. They are 0-2 without him. They need their quarterback. They need Corral. They can win a championship with Corral. I don't buy this Michigan is the best team in the USFL monstrosity that you just said. Matt Corral's Birmingham is a different team than Case Cookus or Alex Magoo's Birmingham. It's true. And I think if they can get Corral back healthy, they could still win a championship. But we don't know. How do we evaluate them knowing, do we know Corral's coming back? Is he out long term? Like, I don't know. I underestimated that injury. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that going forward and where you would evaluate Birmingham with this kind of situation up in the air.
Yeah, I mean, if Corral's not back, I think we discussed power pull, but they should be way lower than we'll have them initially, just because I don't know. Corral's a pro. I mean, he clearly is one of the better quarterbacks in this league when he gets going. So to lose a guy like that really hurts. So yeah, I'm not too confident with this team moving forward if they don't have him, because like anything could happen. Granted, you know, I do also think the Memphis defense did show up this week. I know I poo-pooed him in the preview, and turns out, you know, when you get PJ Hall back, one of your starting defensive tackles, that could really, you know, provide a spark to your front seven. I mean, he was great. He had a sack, he had a TFL. I mean, really playing his gap, stopping the run. So, I mean, hats off to Jared Horton and his defense, because they really rose to the occasion.
Yeah, and I was very critical of Memphis and some of Jim Turner's game management decisions. I thought he had the first one was a 4th and 5 from the -45. Again, punt rules in this league that if the ball goes into the end zone, it comes out to the 25 or the 30. So, like, there's no pinning anybody deep, really. I mean, why, you know, what do you have to lose at 0-4? I was a little critical of that, and then he did it again. He had a 4th and 2 from the +45, and he punted. I can't believe after those two decisions they won. But what to tell you about Jim Turner? He's conservative. He's conservative as a head coach. That is...
He does,
I mean,
and he's got a little.
Yeah,
he's got a little Mike Nolan in him, but I did think it really helped this team when it seemed like every time Birmingham was getting the ball, they were inside their own, 20-yard line, inside their own 15-yard line, like back to the goal line. And given when you put your defense in that position, it's real easy for them to go out there and be successful, and whereas the offense is a little bit more tense.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's another team that's bit more right now by the injury bug than Birmingham. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not just Corral. It's the O-line. They lost Cole Schneider. That has made a huge difference. That's their anchor up there. He has missed the last 2 games. And they had another guy go down, the right guard, had, I think, to be carted off.
Yeah, Leviticus Simmons.
I thought there was a situation where they were going to have to play Jordan Thomas at tackle because they only had like 5. If they had one more injury, it was Jordan Thomas time at left tackle, which is crazy because I think he's played left tackle before. That would have been fun to watch. Can you imagine Jordan Thomas rushing the passer, by the way? Like, why isn't that guy a DA?
That'd be crazy. Didn't he used to play linebacker, right?
I think he played everything. Like,
yeah. I mean, when you're that
I'd put
big,
him at quarterback.
Like, yeah.
What the hell?
Just say goal line QB. All right. I do want to touch on, like, we did have an overtime game, which was, awesome. Yeah. We didn't have any last year. I don't know. I think the last time we've had it was probably like, I know in the USFL there was a couple, but like XFL, it was only that one Battlehawks game when they played Vegas at home. So it was good. It was good to see OT, but I do have a massive issue with that rule, whereas like if you commit 2 defensive penalties in a row, it becomes a successful try. Like why can't you not just like, all right, just give them a do-over at that point? I just didn't like how Memphis was granted 2 points for an incomplete pass.
Didn't this happen in the NFL playoffs with the Eagles, where there was, I forget who they were playing. Was it the Rams in the playoffs? Where it could have been Green Bay as well.
I don't.
There was a tush-push play on the goal line, and they kept jumping off sides.
Oh, that was with the command. That was this past year with the Commanders in the NFC Championship.
Oh yeah. Right, NFC Championship. They kept jumping off sides to the point where they gave them the touchdown.
No, they said if you do it one more time, it's going to be a touchdown. But I don't think they actually gave it to him. They ended up punching it in. But
I
know
guess
what you
that's
mean.
that's my rebuttal to you. Is in the NFL that can still happen with a warning.
Mm-hmm.
Are you mad about they didn't get a warning? Or are you mad about like the rule?
I just didn't really like the rule because like when it came down to it and Memphis converted on their final try to D Anderson on that slant, I still felt like it's like, all right, well, they should Stallions should really have a chance to rebuttal and get, because like quote unquote they didn't score. Obviously, you know, the rules are what the rules are. I just wasn't a fan of that whole thing and that sequence, how it played out. And it was kind of like I didn't even know that was a rule, to be honest, until it happened.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and Blandino kind of explained it. I guess my only problem with what you're saying is what stops you in a UFL overtime as a defense from just constantly committing a penalty on the 1 yard line. Like there does have to be something.
Yeah.
Right? Where, I mean, we saw this before with Birmingham. They got a false start that bailed them out and won them a game.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were honestly, it seemed like purposely committing penalties if they knew they were going to get burnt, or, you know, if they knew that they lost the receiver. It's like whatever. But yeah, I think there has to be something in place. Maybe it's not 2, maybe it's 3 strikes and you're out. Like 2's a little crazy. But no, that was in the rule book. And it makes sense as to why it's there. Maybe you have to announce that, though, as a crew. Like, hey, if there's another penalty committed, live ball, right? It has to be live ball.
Yeah.
Like, give them a warning. And I thought the other interesting thing was that I didn't like, Tizzino actually had to come out.
Yeah. He had to miss the next try.
I didn't understand that. And there was some confusion there because they clearly play him all the time. Like, he never comes out. So the ref is like kicking him off the field and he's like not understanding, and they're trying to sub Gates in, and the ref's yelling at them, it's not a timeout. Like, you can't use this as a timeout. You got to get the hell out here. So I don't know why they kick a guy out of the game for committing a penalty. That was very strange to me. I guess that's a weird nuance of the rule book, but yeah, we got overtime, and we got to tip our caps because we did it in fastest 3 minutes. But the player of this game, in my opinion, was D. Anderson. D. Anderson with the touchdown right off the bat to get things rolling. D. Anderson with a major catch on that winning conversion where he took a big ol' hit from one of the linebackers, and he hung on that big 6'5" frame, and he had the celebration of the year in the UFL. After that, we showed it on the clip. Kicking in the door. There was no better analogy for Memphis than that kicking in the door. And we had some other good celebrations. I think Zaquandre White actually said on TV he threw the grenade.
Yeah.
But no, that was a good one because it's like we've arrived and we're going to kick in the door, and now the new showboats are here. Is what happened to them going to happen against San Antonio? Like, is it the same thing where San Antonio, emotional win, letdown spot? Memphis has Houston next week. Winnable game? I tend to believe it's the same thing where they're going to get a little too high, and you can't get high in the highs and you can't get low in the lows, and it seems like players really do in this league, and I think that could be trouble for Memphis. I could be wrong. Yeah, so let's glaze over Houston and San Antonio because this was this stunk. This was an underwhelming game.
Yeah.
I don't really know if I've ever missed a bet worse to bet a team -3 and have them lose by 24. I don't know. Do they need destroying back? Like, to get that swag going? Like,
so what was that about? Because I thought he wasn't on the injury report and then he wasn't out there. Like, is he cut?
I didn't see him on IR.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Personal reasons.
He is missing.
Yeah,
Maybe
I don't know.
He had a groin injury. Maybe he joined the WWE and he's gone. I don't know. But let's talk about Houston because they deserve it. Jalen McClendon.
He's a dude. I mean, what can you say? I mean,
Absolute cannon. Yeah.
And even after the game when they're interviewing him, he's deflecting, saying like, no, this was a team win. Which I love. Sign of a great leader. Doesn't want to take all the credit for himself. Want to give credit to the guys around him. And I thought their run game was great this week again. I mean, Zaquandre White, Kurt Merritt breaking off big runs. I mean, getting them into the end. They both had a score. Yeah, I mean, they I thought played a great game from the offensive line standpoint. Really dominated that San Antonio front, and we said in the preview like, hey, it's not a great team against a run, but you would just think, with the win they had last week, the energy of coming back to the Alamo Dome, it would have been a little bit of more of a motivation factor for them, but clearly that was not the case at all.
Yeah, and it's almost like you see two sides of old CJ Johnson, right? I will say, if you're somebody, and there's a lot of you, it's you and I as well, TPG. We're guilty of this.
Mm-hmm.
We buried this guy.
Yeah.
Right? We did. And others worse than us. And that's hilarious. He deserved it. I didn't think he was going to make it off the tarmac back to Arlington in week 1. It's time to give CJ Johnson some flowers, because if you're going to rag on the guy, you're not allowed to disappear when he does something good.
Yeah. And
right?
He's hilarious.
It's a big win.
He's so funny when they have him mic'd up and he's like yelling at dudes like, come here. It's always like, get your ass over. It's so funny. Like, but yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say the players respond well, but they respond. So he's doing something right. He's correcting what went wrong at the beginning of the season. So yeah, way to get another dub.
Yeah,
coach.
and I think you could tell their anchor is Chris Wilson, that defensive coordinator, to the point where CJ actually threw his challenge flag because he was so worried that his DC's headset wasn't working. He panicked. He ran 50 yards down the sideline and was chucked the flag. And they asked him, and he's like, well, I couldn't. He's like, I couldn't get there to call a timeout, so I had to throw my challenge flag. They're like, well, what happened? He's like, my DC's headset was off. So he definitely relies on Chris Wilson, for sure. And Chris Wilson, man, hell of a job. We've known this defense is good. They played very well against the pass in prior weeks. Yeah, they got beat up by the run a few times, but no, this is a good defense. They have some guys up front between that Tayshaun Bauer, who got himself another sack today, and the D-backs between Elder and between Damon Arnett and Leon O'Neal. Rashad Williams with a pick six. One of them pops off the film every week. It's a really good secondary. I would venture to say it's a top 3 secondary in this league. And there's some really good ones, but that's a good secondary today. They forced Kellen Mond to be benched, and they picked him off. I said he never gets picked off. They picked him off, and they picked Garantano off. So
the Garantano one that's more on Jacob Harris.
Yeah, true.
It couldn't have been any easier for that corner.
Yeah.
But like you said, I thought the Houston pass rush, I mean, getting there. How many did they have? 4 sacks it was?
4 sacks.
But yeah, it seemed like every time either Guantanamo Bay or Kellen Mond was dropping back, it was they had pressure in their face, and they didn't make life easy for them at all. Yeah. So kudos to this front 7.
It's depressing, not only with this San Antonio franchise, but with Kellen Mond. I just have to feel for a guy who walks off that field today and probably envisioned his homecoming back to the city that he grew up in. This was going to be the turnaround for him after struggling in the NFL and being, a 3rd-round pick or 4th-round pick who could never find his way in the NFL. And for this to be his second chance, for them to do all that promo, he was the first quarterback that was announced as QB1. That was strategic. They did that for a reason, because people know him and love him in that city. And he started playing well against DC. And then to come back home in front of your family, in front of the city you grew up, and you romanticize that, and you think about that, and he probably dreamed about that coming back and playing in front of his hometown. And he got benched.
They were
4
so
of 9
bad.
for 35 yards.
I mean,
it couldn't have gone worse for Kellen Mond.
64 total passing yards between him and Guarantano, and then 77 rushing yards. I mean, 118 yards of total offense. Jeez. I mean, they just
Yeah, and
did
it's
not
not like
even
Houston
show
was
up.
world beaters on defense.
No, they just.
So
I mean, and they didn't get McFarland nearly enough involved. Like, only 6 carries, one target. We talked about how important that is to get that guy going, and they, for whatever reason, they just couldn't. So, and we're still waiting for John Trey Kirkland to show up this season.
I was afraid you were going to bring him up.
Yeah.
John Trey Kirkland should have been thrown out of that game. He got away with a punch. He punched a guy right in the helmet, and he got lucky that they didn't see it because that might have been a suspension. That was a haymaker. He was swinging for the fences with that. And I'll never understand when guys punch with helmets on because you're going to break your hand or break your arm or break your wrist, especially as a receiver. Like, you kind of need that. But
you would rather slap a fan that doesn't have a helmet on, right?
yeah. There has been a fall off of 2 specific players in this league that really depresses me. Their names are Ja'Cour Pearson and John Trey Kirkland. They're kind of both in the same position right now where they were on top of the world and they've fallen off. And for John Trey, this started last year in the UFL championship game where he was not good. had several key drops, multiple blunders. So I think, again, don't want to spend too much time on this. My final thought here, this is extremely depressing for San Antonio Brahmas fans. To be humiliated in your home opener to an inferior opponent, they're just going to keep losing attendance. And that sucks because I saw this building in 2019 have 35,000 people in it in the AAF. And then it was strong. Remember when they beat Birmingham at home last season?
Yeah, it was lit.
That was one of the loudest crowds I've ever heard in the UFL. And football in Texas is special, and it can be special. Not with this product. And what needs to happen today, not tomorrow, do it now. Wade Phillips needs to step down. It doesn't have to be a leave of absence. It needs to be, hey, it hasn't worked out. I lost my offensive coordinator. I got my 28-year-old wide receivers coach out here dying, trying to take all this in and getting crushed. Yeah, he got his win. Congratulations. It was a big moment, but it's not sustainable. Wade himself, not the league, not anybody else, come out and say, hey, we're going to finish the season with Pardee, and then I'm going to retire. And the staff is gone. Everybody's gone. Pardee's gone. Maybe he gets a job in D.C. next year or something. They need to move on from everybody, the whole Wade Phillips regime. And it's a shame because I think what happened today was nobody can say anymore that Wade's Roughnecks were superior to C.J. Johnson's. And that's the toughest part of this. That's what Roughnecks fans will tell you. They took our team, they took our franchise away, and they gave it to the gamblers. What are you going to say now? They just went head-to-head with Wade's roster, Wade's staff, the whole thing that he built, and they beat him by 24. Today changes everything for C.J. Johnson from a confidence standpoint, from having to hear all that chatter about how you're not good enough. They took away Wade Phillips from us. We were a good football team with A.J. Smith. We loved Brandon Silvers and John Trey Kirkland and Ajane Harris and all those guys that they had, Devontae Beckett. All those Brahmas now. They're all Brahmas. Every single one of them. You took all our guys away. Guess what? Those Houston Gamblers, they just proved a big point today, and I want to get your final thoughts on this. Do you think Wade is done and should retire and then move on after the season?
Yeah, I think he's probably done. I mean, if you're not able to even be a part of a short football season, only 10 weeks, probably, you're looking at 15, 16 weeks in total with training camp all the way through the playoffs included. So yeah, if you can't make a commitment like that, obviously I think they should move on. But I think they would be kind of dumb to let Pardee walk. I think he's a great leader of men when it comes to this team. The players respond well to him, and I don't want to see DC get a good guy like that. Just stay in San Antonio. I think what you have, like, you could definitely build on, this, whether it's, the roster, the scheme you're implementing. Yeah, keep him in San Antonio league.
I don't think he's a head coach. I think he could be an offensive coordinator. I think he needs a head coach. I mean, you're asking what we just talked about, Skip Holtz and Ken Wisenhunt being overwhelmed. Imagine Peyton Party, head coach, calling his own plays. And what are they doing with this situation with the Bucs coaching camp that he's supposed to go to in a week?
He's probably not going. He's probably not going. There's no way in hell you're going.
And that sucks to miss out on that opportunity for this shit show. 1-4, going absolutely nowhere.
But
it might be 2-9, 2-8 to finish the season. Like,
you know what? It might be a shit show to us, but I think this will be a great, learning opportunity for him and something that he could really build on his career moving forward. So yeah, obviously it sucks. It sucks to lose and do all that, but you're going to learn a lot about yourself, a lot about your team, and a lot about, these other coaches around you that, you could use to build on for next season.
If you're a Roughnecks fan who stuck it out with your team through CJ Johnson, hats off to you. We see the guy all the time, Predator.
Oh, yeah.
And his crew never wavered.
The rig rocker.
They were there in 100-degree sweltering heat last year, watching that team get their face kicked in. And they stuck with it. Now here's your reward. Could argue San Antonio's their biggest rival. Very close by opponent. And you have the whole dynamic of everybody thinks Wade Phillips is better than you. And that you're a second-hand Roughnecks. You're not even the real Roughnecks. And you go in and whoop their tail. Just saying. Big moment. Big moment for Houston fans who stuck around. All right. How high do we move them up in the power pool? Now becomes the question. I'll run through it quick. DC's back to 1, and I hate it because we found out through trends the last 3 weeks, the number 1 in the Springball Boulevard power poll has lost outright. 3 weeks in a row. DC is now cursed, and I've cursed them by putting them at number 1. Don't have an option. Where the hell else would you put them? They're the best team in the league right now. They beat Arlington, beat Birmingham, beat St. Louis. Who else is worthy?
Memphis.
The new Memphis.
The new Showboats. Yeah. They beat the old Showboats though, so.
You hear that, Jim? He's kissing ass now. He's kissing ass. Wearing the Showboat shirt today. I mean, it's ridiculous. This guy's fair weather.
He should send us some gear. We'll rep it.
I want to see you just wear a shirt with him with a captain hat on. It says, "I'm the captain now."
I'm the captain now with Jim's face, or with Turner's face, or
Even
dress or
with
win,
dress or
win. I'm the captain now.
So DC at 1. Let's go Arlington at 2. Birmingham at 3. St. Louis at 4. Michigan at 5. Houston at 6. Memphis at 7. San Antonio at 8. Not too much debate here. The only thing that we had a conversation about, I don't want to get too far into it, but you tend to believe that Birmingham cannot be evaluated with Matt Corral because we don't know yet, and you have to sit there and look at them with Cookus. I agree with you. If Case Cookus is playing the rest of the year, I don't think I can get Birmingham higher than 5. If Matt Corral does come back, they're still a top 3 team capable of winning a championship. I'm going to hold out hope for one more week. If he doesn't start next week against San Antonio, I don't care anymore. I'm just going to assume Case Cookus is going to play the rest of the season because I have to. And the odds makers have to as well. So that's the only thing we disagreed on. I think you were cool with everything else.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, and then we also talked about, how far do we drop San Antonio, and it's obvious they have to be last.
Today was
after the result you put together today, only 3 points offensively. Defense didn't look a whole lot better, so I mean, there's no other place to put them other than the basement.
Yeah, no, that was awful. As a 3-point favorite, you lose by 24. Hard to find worse than that. Yeah, and I think Memphis could beat them head to head right now. Honestly, I think people are going to call me crazy by saying this. Houston just bridged the gap to Michigan. I think Houston could beat Michigan. I think Houston could beat Michigan 4 times out of 10. Honestly, I hate Michigan. I hate this team. I love Bryce Perkins, and that's why I hate this team. So, sorry, Michigan. I hope we kick your teeth in.
Ooh.
I'm mad. I hope DC rolls you. I can't wait to bet 2.5 and let Mike Nolan wipe that smug smirk off his face. If they give Bryce Perkins the offensive player of the week, which they might, for the third week in a row,
what's going to happen?
I mean, how much of an asshole is he going to look like giving that game ball to him again?
I mean, it's gonna be Tiamu. It has to be. Like, there's no way. 4 total touchdowns, over 300 yards passing. I mean, you put up 37.
DC gets no love.
It has to be. It has to be him. And he's my early MVP candidate, I will say.
The league hates DC, by the way. The league hates DC. All the coaches hate DC.
Yeah.
It's DC against the world. It's DC against the world. You get the special treatment as a Battlehawks fan with your little crowd and all this going for you. People that say, oh, you know, you would have never got your CBA ratified unless there's 30,000 people showing up to the dome.
Yeah, we're putting the league on our back.
You get your championship game at home. If you get it, like you get 6 home games, like they just cater to you.
You're just mad DC United has a game that day.
It's always been DC against the world, man. That's why Skip called Shannon a doorman.
Dang.
All right, quick early week 6 line. St. Louis a 3-point favorite at home against Arlington. Early word: TPG will be in attendance. Don't slap him, please. Don't hit him.
Yes.
I don't need.
I think I'm gonna wear like some headgear. I think, because you don't know. We saw
just like the things they wear in Power Slap. Like
exactly. No, like the boxing headgear.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna wear that. Maybe a mouthpiece too, so I don't get any teeth knocked out. But
can you imagine, by the way, if Dana White called Samson Nacua, was like, "Hey, you want to like do Power Slap?"
Dude, that would be. That meme's gonna be going around tomorrow. I guarantee you. Like,
yeah.
Samson Nacua signs Power Slap contract. So funny.
Yeah, St. Louis 3-point favorite. That does not line up with our power poll. I might lean Arlington there. Houston 5.5-point favorite at home against Memphis. Michigan is a 2.5-point favorite at home against DC. What the hell are we doing? And Birmingham is a 9.5-point favorite on the road.
No, it's in
way.
Yeah.
They put San Antonio on the road 5 out of 6?
It's because the whole fucking Final Four thing. They completely... Yeah, I don't know.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Oh, can you imagine getting beat like that and then having to go play Birmingham?
I mean, here, I'm
gonna
do
Matt Corral out. Yeah.
I'm gonna give out an early lead, and I'm gonna listen to myself. I'm gonna listen to my past self, so hopefully my future self is really happy. San Antonio plus the 9.5. No team's as bad as you think they are. This guy.
Then why don't you just bet Memphis?
No, I'm too afraid of the letdown spot to get on them just yet. And then, you know, this Battlehawks Renegades line, I'm not too nervous. I think it's gonna get bet down. It's probably gonna be closer to a pick 'em. So my Battlehawks fans out there, I would wait. Don't jump on it now.
Yeah, I'm nervous with DC because I'm gonna grab it at 2.5, and that thing's gonna be a pick 'em. That's got to be a pick 'em by kickoff, right? Like,
or it could flip. But I agree. I like DC next week.
Doubt it. Who's laying points with Michigan right now?
I mean, they did this past week. They said on the broadcast before the St. Louis Michigan game, Michigan 69% of the money. So
yeah, that's crazy, by the way.
Yeah.
So you wanted to know totals real quick, how they would inflate with this new trend. Arlington, St. Louis at 42.5. That'll be our highest total of the season. We also have a DC Michigan total of 41.5. The other two are 36 and 37 in other games. So yeah, they've gone into the 40s for the first time, I think, this year. So that'll be interesting to see. Plug the socials quick, and we're running late. So
yeah, this is way too long. All right, TikTok, Instagram, absolutely popped off. Thank you, Samson Nacua. At Springball BLVD, follow, like, comment, share, do all that good shit. Thanks for all the support. Matt, let's go to bed.
And by the way, he's joking. It's not serious. Like, we don't want to exploit somebody and be viral. Like, yes, it's nice to go viral. But again, all we want to do is have a platform where we can show you things that happen in spring football. That's our only job here. We'll leave it up to you to decide what you think about it when you see it. We're just here to show you it. For TPG, I am Matty Fresh. It was a wild week in the UFL, and we're going to leave you with the sights and sounds of Week 5, and we'll see you Thursday night.
So he got to look at it. I need you to come here. No.
Now these motherfuckers want to start driving safeties on my side. Like,
and remember, you got to cover down if you do kick that field goal.
To go, throwing it out.
Be a fun one.
Yeah. On top, ready?
All right, so we've entered the red light district of the playbook.
Did I see 2 C's on the thicker?
You did.
Oh, is that like a TikTok thing or?
Still for the outreached arm of Chris Payton-Jones.
9. Just a cover 2 beater. Down the middle goes Jordan Thomas.
It wasn't me.
It was you, 18. You number 18?
6.
Oh.
This is a new look Memphis Showboats right here. Yeah, we got an offense that people know. We got a play caller that knows the offense.
Yeah, and look, had it been a closed fist punch, then we would have come in and made it a foul from the command center. But that was pushing and shoving, open hand.